Ohio, minasan. Today, we will talk about Rizal's interlude in Japan. So, as we know, Rizal went to many places like Spain, Paris, United States, China, and India. So, today, we will talk about his journey to Japan. Among the happiest moments of Rizal's in his life was his sojourn in the land of the cherry blossoms, or the rising sun, which is Japan. He stayed in Japan for 1 month and in half from February 28 to April 13, 1888. He was charmed by the natural beauty of Japan and the manners of the Japanese people with the picturesque of shrines. On his first arrival at Yokohama, he stayed in Grand Hotel, which is looks like this. And on February 28, 1888, after his arrival in Tokyo, Rizal was visited by Juan Perez Caballero, Secretary of Spanish Legation. The latter invited him to live at the Spanish Legation. Rizal knew that this was the Spanish government's way to monitor his movements, but he accepted it anyway. On March 7, he moved out of Tokyo Hotel and lived at the Spanish Legation. He and Perez Caballero became a good friends, and Caballero described him as a young, fine, and excellent writer. During his first day in Tokyo, Rizal could not speak Japanese language because he is new in Japan. He had a hard time for shopping for he could not be understood and children laughed at him. So Rizal became determined to uh, learn the language of Japanese people. So in just a few days, uh, he already learned Japanese language. At Japan, he studied the Japanese drama, arts, music, and judo. He started learning some of their culture, hobby, and their literary. He also visited museums, libraries, art galleries, and shrines. So, the example of this, like the Imperial Museum, Imperial libraries, and Imperial art galleries. So, as we know, Japan was under the imperialist government back in 1888. So, after that, he visited Meguro, Nikko, Hakone, Miyanoshita, and the charming villages of Japan. During one time, Rizal went to the park and heard the Tokyo band playing a classical work of Strauss. He was impressed by the great performance of the Western music. He thought to himself how admirable their renditions are and wondered how they have assimilated the modern European music to the extent of playing the beautiful masterpiece of the European composers so well. So everyone will be shocked if they see an Asian perform a Western music so well. The band stopped playing and to his surprise, they were speaking Tagalog. So even more, the Japanese people also speak Tagalog. He approached them and conversed with him. The musicians were delighted and also surprised to meet him. On the March 4, 1888, Rizal was greatly impressed by Japan, among which are the natural beauty of the country, the cleanliness, and the politeness of the Japanese people. So, as we know, Japanese was well known for their hospitality for their guests. The pictures, dress, and simple charm of the Japanese woman. There were few thieves in Japan, and beggars were rarely seen in the city streets. So, Japan was also well known for their cleanliness and effort in their jobs. However, he disliked the rickshaws drawn by men. Because of his amusement in Japan, he decided to write a letter to his friend Blumentritt. On March 15, 1888, Rizal met a pretty Japanese girl, Seiko Usui, or also known as Osei-san. So Rizal called her Osei-san. Osei-san's beauty and affection almost tempted Rizal to settle down in Japan. At the same time, he was offered a good job with the Spanish legation, but then his love for the fatherland and his mission to free his oppressed people made him think again. So his love for the country was greater than his love for his woman. Well, um, his purpose on traveling in every country was to find a way to free his countrymen. So, on the 7th of April 1888, Rizal wrote his family and envisioned that in the future, the Philippines would have more contact and relations with Japan. So, his prediction became reality because, as we know, Philippines have a good relation in Japan. Rizal's great love for Seiko Usoy in Japan will be memories that he will always cherish, but it was his time to go. So every good story always has its ending. Um, but in Rizal's story, it's somewhat in the between of good and bad. So on April 13th, 1888, Rizal boarded the Belgic, an English steamer, at Yokohama bound for the United States. He left Japan with a heavy heart, for he knew that he will never see the beautiful land again. So his beloved Osei-san, uh, his sojourn in Japan for 45 days was one of the happiest interludes of his life. So that's the ending of Journey of Rizal in Japan. So that's all. Thank you for listening.